So I want to play this clip here from Toni Morrison called Classism in the Community. I thought she brought up a really good point here. Toni Morrison is a famous author, for those who are not aware.
Mm-hmm.
Did I make it big enough? Oh.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What it takes for us to get back together as a community, regardless of class, regardless of money, would be, I thought, a similar situation where one was going to lose the other. One was going to lose the other. And where we didn't have these honest conversations. Really honest. I know as an academic, for example, maybe not for me because I'm also a writer, but say I wasn't, my authenticity comes from the street. Whether I'm living there or not, I'm supposed to have some tangible, be able to speak for and with, you know?
That's right.
That class.
Yes.
And if I can't or don't or won't, then I have just assimilated myself out, even in a career move, you know, in the humanities.
That's right.
So you need that authentic, you have to know what you're talking about.
Absolutely.
So on the one hand, there's the authenticity comes from the street, but is anybody talking to the street or are they just talking about the street? Where is the union, you know? That's why somebody like Cornel West interests me.
Me too.
Because he teaches at Princeton, he never goes on a lecture where he doesn't insist on going to a high school, public high school, or prison.
That's what I've been told.
And he talked to me the other day about his graduating class at Sing Sing. I said, I'm 6. That's a big and important commitment. He's not isolating himself, and he's not patronizing.
No, not when he does that.
Not when he does that. No. They want, you know, half of them, they don't even want to hear him. They didn't want to come to the graduation.
Yes.
That's what I mean. That's a different kind. That's a deliberate kind of identification that is not casual.
And that's another exposure too.
That's right.
It truly is.
That's right. That's right.
I thought that was important when she said that, like, people want to talk about the streets, but they don't. But who's actually talking to the street?
Yeah.
And it's true. Oh, go ahead.
Not only do a lot of people who are Black, once they make it, they pull up the financial ladder, but they also pull up the intellectual ladder, right? And they pull up the social ladder. So they're not coming over to socialize with you no more. They're not coming to help you economically anymore. They're not coming down there to teach you how to get out of it. So therefore, they cut themselves off. So all these people who talk about, I'm from the streets and they made it, guess what? No, they're not anymore. Everybody from NWA is no longer from the streets. All them, they ain't from the streets no more. They've been so out of the streets, it's not even funny. The person that probably can't speak to is probably Ice Cube, maybe, because he's trying at least. But the rest of them, no, they're not in the streets anymore. Not really. Because the thing is, it's like, okay, they're trying to, and plus on top of it, if they did, they would realize that you can't do it through a Black capitalism. You can't do it through that. Because, like, for instance, and no shade to him, but Killer Mike, he's trying to do it through the Black capitalism route.
Yeah.
Guess what? Atlanta is still Atlanta the way we know it. So guess what? You can't do it through that route. And the thing is that I would love for a lot of them to start listening to what Fred Hampton said. We will not beat capitalism with Black capitalism. We'll beat socialism. This is the thing. You cannot sit here and try to adapt yourself to an economic system that enslaved us.
And not to mention, in reference to Atlanta, even right now, you have like Buckhead, which is an area in Atlanta. More professionals live in that area. Buckhead is trying to detach itself from Atlanta, like physically detaches. It wants to break away from the rest of Atlanta right now. There's legislation in place for that. So I think it just goes to show you really have to pay attention to what's happening, what's going on. When JB talks about these different ladders, we talk about pulling up the education ladder. Again, not teaching, going back to the community and teaching people in the community how to get to where you are, right? Knowledge is very powerful. So if people don't have the knowledge, how are they supposed to get there? The second one, economic ladder, not going back to the community that you grew up in and donating financially, which these guys are millionaires, donating financially in some way, shape, or form to help better the community. Whether it's LeBron's really good at doing this, though, like building that school that he built in Cleveland, doing something like that, like giving back to the community. And then 3, the social ladder, which is also very important, because if the people in your community, in your former community, if they don't have the connections, the social connections, that's another thing that can prevent people from getting out of poverty. So when you pull up all 3 of those ladders, you're basically leaving the people in your community to suffer and struggle, and you have the resources and the means to help people, and you're choosing not to do so. But you want to go onto a talk show and make fun of the people that get free lunch.
Yeah.
You guys see the problem? Like this is not okay. And it happens more often. Not as many people. There's more people that are wealthy that are not giving back to the community than there are that are wealthy and are giving back to those communities.
Yeah. Or a lot of times what they'll do is they'll be like, oh, I'm starting a business in our community, and they'll own the business. And then when it comes to pay, the pay is the same as everywhere else. So they're actually not helping them to make a living wage. And then they're exploiting their own people in order to make more capital. So because they own the business, they're like, well, I put out the money, I own the business, but I opened the business in my community. And it's like, yeah, but the thing is, how much are you paying your people that you open the business in the community for? Right? Like, and I've seen this question many times where people will be like, well, if you were somehow come into a lot of money, what would you do? And this is an example of something that I think that if somehow, like magically, I were to come into a whole bunch of money, here's what I said. And this is, I know this will be close to your heart and Roger Meadows' heart. I said I would probably buy a business out for cheap, then resell the business back to all the workers and have them make it into a worker co-op through contracts, and then sell it back to them for extremely cheap, like $1 per worker. And then next thing you know, they own the business collectively outright. And then they can make the profits themselves and they can build themselves up. But the thing is that nobody's talking about that. They all just want to own and then exploit the people the neighborhood that they just came from.
You're right about that. It's like, let's go back and start a business in my former neighborhood, but not help the people in the neighborhood. But they'll make it seem like they are. They'll say, see, I opened the Puff Daddy. I opened this restaurant in this neighborhood for all you guys. So I'm giving back to the community. Nah, you charging the money. Like that's a profit for you. That's money in your pocket. Like, how is that? Oh, well, this is going to create jobs where you're still paying them the same minimum wage as the other employers.
Look, I'll put it this way. When people talk about creating jobs in the hood, look, people who sell drugs on the street actually have a job. It's selling drugs on the street. That's job creation. People don't think about it like that, but they're employed. They may not be employed by actual legitimate actors, but they're employed. People who sell their bodies on the street, they're literally self-employed. It's not about the jobs. It's the quality of the jobs that you're trying to help. And the thing is that if you're not trying to help make quality jobs that allow people to empower themselves, then you're no different than the other people. You're no different than all these other, corporate dictators. So you might as well just not even put a business in that area. Oh, well, they're all unemployed. No, they're not. Most people in the hood are actually employed. They're just not making enough in order to help, to get help. They're being paid starvation wages. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about. And so you can open a restaurant in the hood all you want, but are you paying them a living wage that would force all the other companies in order to raise their wages in the area? No. And are you willing to go at a loss for the people in your area? Are you willing to not make a profit just so that they can actually make more, so that they can pull themselves up by their bootstraps?